upon him. O Messenger of Allah, the affluent have made off with the rewards. They pray as we pray, they fast as we fast, and they give away in charity the superfluity of their wealth. He said, Has not Allah made things for you to give away in charity? Truly every tasbihah is a charity, every takbirah is a charity, every tahmidah is a charity, and every tahleelah is a charity. To enjoin a good action is a charity, to forbid an evil action is a charity, and in the sexual act of each of you there is a charity. They said, O Messenger of Allah, when one of us fulfills his sexual desire, will he have some reward for that? He said, Do you not think that were he to act upon it unlawfully, he would be sinning? Likewise, if he has acted upon it lawfully, he will have a reward. It was related by Muslim.
The Prophet ﷺ said, When Allah had finished his creation, he wrote over his throne.
This is Salam Radio, Peterborough's Muslim community radio, broadcasting on 106.2 FM and online.
Sisters, good evening and welcome to Let's Talk, your weekly current affairs show with me, Hamid Chowdhury and Akil Khalil. Assalamu alaikum, and the show's brought to you by Salam Radio 106.2 FM, and also for our Luton listeners, Assalamu alaikum, welcome back. It's brought to you by Inspire FM on 105.1. Tonight we'll be asking the question, are schools doing enough to tackle bullying and Islamophobia and hate crime that's rising in our society? We're online at salamradio.co.uk, Facebook Live and YouTube Live, or you can also get us via iOS or Android apps. We are here to unite all communities, so if you want to get involved or raise your opinion, please do call us on 01733 602 133, or you can always WhatsApp us on 07745 278 978. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters, and welcome back. Assalamu alaikum, Akil. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum. How you doing? You alright?
I know, it's been a while.
It has been.
Yeah,
I've missed it.
I feel like it's been weeks, but it's only been 1 week that we've been away.
It feels like months actually. I've been really lonely.
You really missed it, haven't you?
I have really.
Anyway, before we get onto the show, we have a guest, Javed. Assalamu alaikum, Javed.
Walaikum salam.
And I will introduce you in a minute, but we just want to talk about Eid, inshallah.
Eid in the park.
Eid in the park. Well, you were there, weren't you?
I was there.
Yeah.
First time. It was absolutely brilliant.
I know. It's great, wasn't it?
It was absolutely amazing.
2,000 people.
2,000 people.
Yeah.
Great family atmosphere. The police playing football with the youngsters. I thought it was brilliant.
The pictures are great.
Fantastic atmosphere.
But I tell you what, it was wonderful to see the diversity.
Yeah.
You know, it was a beautiful day. It was a warm day. You know, and the diversity and people enjoying themselves, having their picnic. You know, after the Eid prayer and so on and so forth. That was and the general feedback that came out was this of diversity, where everyone the families were involved. Because sometimes, you know, the massages aren't always geared up for that kind of thing. So this kind of outdoor Eid in the park is wonderful for that kind of thing.
I agree with you. And a certain member of the Let's Talk team who isn't here right now, I saw him eating a lot of food.
Really?
No spoilers who that might be.
No spoilers.
FMP in a little while.
Yeah. No, Jazakallah. No, it was a great. And Ramadan's come and gone.
What were we saying? Like you were saying, you know, it's going to be coming, and before you know, it's gone, and then we're going to miss it. I mean, I cannot believe it's already over. It was like a flash.
It was a flash. Yeah.
But at least we're going to get some nice food afterwards. Yeah.
Huh? Well. We'll
he
talk
promised
about
me.
that.
He promised me.
Anyway, let's get on with the show. We have a guest today, Javed Khan from Peterborough City Council. You're the Community Cohesion Manager. Inshallah, you're here to talk to us about the Cohesion Diversity Forum that happened recently, in particular that is looking at tackling bullying and hate crime that is in our schools. So I guess the question we're asking, and the outcome to that, was that are schools doing enough to tackle hate crime and bullying in particular?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And I must start with Eid Mubarak. I know the Eid is just gone a few days ago, but it's still fresh very in my mind. And the example that you gave about the Eid in the park is great, with 2,000 people coming from different backgrounds. And I know some of them were non-Muslims coming in, police officers playing football. That's the real concept of an Eid. Eid is a festival to enjoy. So that sounds really great. The good weather, excellent, good news. So well done to all those who organized, and really that's an example of how people can carry on in a proactive, positive way to improve. So well done to all those organizers. Jumma Mubarak. So thank you very much for this opportunity to come. I'm always very available and keen to come along. To your question, first I would like to start with Cohesion and Diversity Forum, because a lot of people, when they hear about somebody from council, they may not understand what is the background that I'm coming from. I'm not a councillor. I'm not a person which is dealing with kind of day-to-day frontline issues such as housings or educations or all that. So I want to get away from the kind of clear the background. My perspective as a community cohesion manager is a lot of ways, simple speaking, is community relations, but relations plus. So it's not just getting to know the communities, but also getting to understand their problems, trying to see how we can work to address their concerns and hopefully find solutions together.
Sorry, go on.
Okay. So the Cohesion and Diversity Forum is one of such a platform that we use, which brings in, it meets every quarterly, and it's aimed to bring in people from different backgrounds. So it could be different age, different race, different faith, different sexual orientation, gender, what in government terminology is called as protected characteristic groups.
Right.
So these are, in simple terms, minority groups. And this is a forum which brings them together. It's chaired by my corporate director, who is a very senior person, Wendy Ogle-Wellborn, who is a corporate director for Peoples and Communities, and now covering both Peterborough and Cambridgeshire County. So she chairs it, and it usually gets about 30 to 40 people, and we usually have a theme every time to talk about it.
Right. I mean, I actually I was happy to accept the invite, and I actually got invited on it a few days ago. It was on Wednesday, wasn't it?
Yes.
And so the main theme for this particular forum for Thursday, and this is why we're here and you're here talking to us, was bullying, and largely a lot of the stories that were relayed by parents, a lot of them were parents, was bullying in schools, and sort of and they gave some heartbreaking stories. Some of them were amazing.
Indeed, that's exactly what it is. This is exactly what I call, in government wording, community empowerment. Now, we had the focus of the last event, which happened last Thursday, which you very kindly agreed to attend as well, was on looking at bullying in or out of school.
Right.
So it's not just looking in the school, it's also looking out schools. The starting point of it, you remember a couple of weeks ago, or maybe now 2 months ago, there was a very high publicity incident on Peterborough Telegraph about a Central Park incident where some young people were involved in a fight. One girl was beaten by a group of people around and all that kind of stuff. That ignited a lot of Facebook conversation, and people were very open about some of these things. As this is nonsense. This cannot carry on. We have a problem, and we realized that there was a lot of people who wanted to talk about this, and they have issues. We have got a group of small team of community connectors who basically their role, as the name says, is to go and connect with the community.
Yes.
And the feedback we got from the community connectors is, hey, there are people who are very upset about maybe individual issues what's happening with their child, whether it's health-wise or whatever, but it's been impacted, they believe, due to some kind of a bullying.
Right.
So we said, well, hang on. The way to do it is probably, let's bring them together in the forum to talk about, understand what is officially being done, what is the ground situation from communities, but more importantly, it was not a kind of a hot air event where a lot of hot air is ventilated and nothing gets done, and what you just go away feeling, well, I don't know whether I've wasted my time. What we do is that we usually use initial half an hour or so to talk about these kind of things, to give a starter. And then we use the next portion, which is a crucial element, is to small group discussions. So each small table, we got about 8 to 10 people, different backgrounds. So last time we had 50 people in total attendance. So we had about 8 tables, different, plus together. With each table is facilitated. And we asked them 4 questions. Each table is given time to discuss 4 questions. And because they're small groups, each person have got opportunity to say it. If we all were together, there will be few people speak and a lot of people will listen. So 4 questions asked in this event were, so what are the key issues in terms of bullying in or out of school that you observe? Mm-hmm. What are the gaps that you identify? 3, what are the actions do you think need to be taken? And this is probably the most important element.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
And the 4th is, what support can you give? So if I'm a community group, if I'm a Salam Radio, I might say, well, actually, I can publicize this message, this theme, blah, blah, blah. It might be a simple thing, but to us, when we all put together, it can make a big impact.
Yeah.
So that's the 4 questions that we asked. And now where we are now is that we, having had a very successful turnout, we had a very good discussion, and we have got now the reports, which we are now collating from the 8 tables. 8 tables we discussed. And I'm hoping to have that ready by sometime next week. And then the next stage is the more important one, is that then we will have a report which says, these are the actions which this forum of 50 people came to and said. Now this could be a list of 15, 20 items. As a next step, Wendy Ogle-Wellborn, who was the chair of the event, has tasked one of the head teachers in the city who was present, Claire George. Mm-hmm. Claire George is a head teacher, is a very experienced head teacher. She is a head teacher for a school which is based in West Town. It's called City Learning Centre. Mm-hmm. So she is part of the head teachers network. And then she has tasked her to take those recommendations forward with the head teachers, with the partners, and then we'll come back to the forum to report what has been done, what couldn't be done, and why not.
It's interesting because while I was there and hearing the stories, it wasn't all schools. I don't know if all schools were presented, but there was one school that, and I don't think we'll name it on air, but one school stood out as being, sort of, having less implementation of its anti-bullying policy, because certainly many of the stories that were coming out of there were with parents with children in that school where bullying was taking place, where hate messages were being presented, and even going on to physical assaults, and yet the school didn't take any real action. I think that's why we're asking the question today. Do you, and having looked at the results that you've now looked at, and I know it's preliminary, can you gauge any conclusions from that? Are there just 1 or 2 schools in Peterborough that are that need more training, or the staff need more training, or need to be better equipped with dealing with these things, or is it just is it a common problem across all schools?
I don't think we are all in any stage to come to that conclusion yet. What we have had, we've just had one perspective, the parents' perspective, given a equal, open platform to come out in a very open and transparent way. That's the phase 1. The next stage is to then take it to the head teachers and have that further discussion about, and then we'll come to a conclusion.
But it was a very small group of people.
It was a very small. So in fact, if we do it something, it could be easily pick up one school. Just so happens there were 3 or 4 people from one school. So I would not go that way at all about problem being any particular school. In fact, I will very much strongly resist that temptation, because that's the easy thing to blame. What we need to do, what we need to be careful, and I think we as a Peterborough have got that maturity where we need to collectively find solutions. is not here for blame, because if my child's well-being in the school is not just the responsibility of the school. It's my responsibility. It's responsibility of the community. It's also responsibility of other key partners like media, partners like my place of worship. A lot of those partners have got to do. So we need to collectively find solution. It's very easy to say that's the problem, they're not doing enough. That, I think, is not the case. We need to work together.
I want to get on to parental engagement and responsibility, maybe much wider in the community. But I just want to talk about the fact that this is a problem, because NSPCC came out with a report, said there's an increase since Manchester and London attacks. There's been an increase in race and faith-based bullying following the attacks. And also Childline has reported a 69% increase in racism, playground bullying, and common terms that are used in playground bullying is suicide bomber and terrorist, which we can also equate to common terms used in the media, and I think that's something that we'll get onto. So this problem does exist, and one of the stories I want to just pick up on in this report, in the NSPCC one, was that a 15-year-old girl who said that the boys in my class are always calling me terrorist, but the teacher doesn't do anything about it. It makes me so angry and upset that I've started to cut myself because it numbs the pain. I mean, that's shocking.
Absolutely.
That story is shocking.
Yeah.
And there was something of equivalent while we were there, where one of the stories was that a girl wearing a hijab in school, who had a lanyard on but it was hidden, was told by a teacher to make it visible, otherwise you may be considered a terrorist, or maybe seen as a terrorist, something along those lines, and other stories of the similar nature. So I mean, there is a wider societal issue with racism and hate crime just generally, but there is a particular focus on Muslim children and sort of Islamophobic hate crimes. And I think that, I don't know, in your experience, is that something that's coming out quite clearly?
Now, from the forum, the discussions, I don't think that was the key issues coming out. There was one, certainly, that incident which was mentioned. There were other non-Muslims issues as well. So I think that's a balanced off. Otherwise, people might perceive that this is purely a Muslim issue. It's not.
Yeah.
As you had realized, there were people from different ethnic backgrounds, white, black, brown, different faith groups. There was one case where this was mentioned, and that was taken up very much seriously by the Claire George, actually. In fact, she said, this is the first thing I'm going to take it up with the particular school. So I think individual incidents needs to be verified and be pursued. There's no room to accept any such case or any bullying, and certainly any children's behavior against other children. I'm also a father myself who have children when they were soon after 9/11 happened, and they were young children, and I remember the time that this was not in this country but in other country, that similar kind of comments were talked up to my son. This is going back a few years now. Now he's a grown-up man. But so I think these kind of things do happen. But what is the solution? The solution is, we are very important, that I think this is very important what you're doing. And remember that on the 15th of June, Superintendent Andy Jipp and his deputy, or one of his deputy, Chief Inspector Rob Hill, arranged an ad hoc meeting with all the mosques in Peterborough. Groups, all the ward councillors from the Central Ward and North Ward were also invited. And we also had the groups like Muslim Council of Peterborough. We also had groups like Community First. I believe Salam Radio was also invited. And this kind of event was actually to put those kind of factual information into people's mind, because there's nothing worse than the fear of crime.
That's
because
right, yes.
the fear of crime, and I'm not saying that there's not a problem. There is a problem after all these incidents, when there is usually a spike of prejudice, and there's a small number of people who would often use that excuse to do things. And sometimes it could be children, sometimes it could be older people. But what it is important is that we actually nip it in the bud and not let the fear of crime be created into a bigger problems. So first thing first, what needs to be done? Whether if you are a parent of a child, or if you're a child, or if you're an adult gone through this, you need to report. The need to report is there are different avenues that people can report. You obviously, as a child, if a child comes back and the parents say somebody's happened, they need to obviously contact the school. That's the first thing they need to do. If they're not satisfied, that their actions are being done adequately, or even in addition to that, there's nothing to stop them contact any of the third-party reporting centers. In the city, there are 8 third-party reporting centers. One of them is Allama Iqbal Center, where you are based. The third-party reporting centers include Crosskeys Homes, Social Landlords, Citizen Advice Bureau, Bayard Place,
Yes.
and the list goes on. Parka, Gladka, all these are familiar names in the community. And what it means is that if I do not want to give a statement, I do not want further pursuit police action, but I do want to actually this to be known to the authorities. I've reported it to my school, but I want to report it to somebody else as well. So the police are knowing that this is happening in particular this school or outside this school. Third-party reporting center, you can do it by phone. It could be done by somebody on your behalf. You don't have to give your name. You can be anonymous. What it does, it gives the authorities a window to understand date, time, place, type of things happening. And that information is very useful to the police and the local authorities to do preventative action.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about these third-party reporting centers well known. I don't know if they're that well known, quite honestly. I don't know about you, Akil, but I don't know of any third-party reporting center that's set up to.
I mean, off air when you said that there was 8 places in Peterborough, that was news to me.
That's right. Yeah.
And I did know of a couple, but I mean, when you're involved in this sort of thing, you start to learn about a few names. But I can certainly tell you with some confidence that I would say that sort of information isn't prevalent certainly in our community anyway.
No. This is again, I won't dispute that. I won't dispute that. I'm not responsible for particularly that particular area, but we are actually responsible to challenge these partners and the people who are working on hate crime. They are aware of these perception issues and the lack of information, and they're working very hard ever since over the last few months. I mean, there were only a few centers beforehand. A lot of times the publicity, people are not aware of why should I report. And I always say when there's a crisis, there's an opportunity. Sometimes people will listen more. And sometimes people may have given them some information. Then people said, it doesn't really bother me. But now people are listening. So what I'm saying is that it's very important to do the third-party reporting. When people have said you got to report, if you're walking some street, the example I often say is that if I'm going through the street and somebody called me by name, I might probably say, no, forget him. I don't want to pick a fight. It's not my time. I'm going for my prayer or whatever. I'll go away. But the same scenario happens to my son, who probably is around 30 years of age, and he might actually he might challenge the person and get who becomes the oppressor.
Yeah,
my son might get into trouble because he challenged it.
Yeah.
So what we're saying for that sake, we need to make sure that if you are going through, if you happen to know, if you are a bystander, you may not be the victim, you may be totally nothing. And we have had people who are neighbors who have just said, look, I heard this said by one of my neighbors against my Asian neighbor, and I want to report it. And there have been cases that we are aware of this happen. So we want to encourage people, and I agree with your point.
I mean, again, that's that communication that needs to be set up. Is right now, I don't think any of those messages are getting out there in the community. Certainly, I mean, people might do it off their own back because they feel that it's wrong. But by and large, I don't think that's something that is out there. And as a society, people know what to do or who to report to.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think the other element as well is I don't think there's a lot of people who are confident in the current setup.
Yeah.
I don't think it's just a fact. It is a factor.
Do you think that's a trust thing?
Yeah, I think there's a major trust thing, and it's not just the police. I think a lot of people are thinking, well, it's not going to. Not only is it trusting, I think a lot of people are of the opinion, well, it's where is this going to lead to? It's going to cause more problems for me, and our community really needs to understand that they really need to be a part of this if they want to see the change. They have to report this. It doesn't matter how old you are, whatever you are a victim of, you need to report this. But for some reason, we just don't feel we can do that. And it's almost as if we're waiting for something to happen to us as an individual or a family member before we're going to press 999 or we're going to think, oh, what can we do? Because other than that, it's almost ignorance is bliss. Yeah. And unfortunately, this is affecting the whole community, everyone. The lack of reporting, the lack of taking part in community cohesion, the lack of, it's almost as if there's no caring unless it's happening to you, which is really sad.
Do you think that, I mean, I guess the community doesn't feel empowered enough to do it? I think that's what's...
No, they definitely don't. Yeah. I mean, I see it day in, day out. People are telling me things about they're a victim of this or something hasn't happened. You offer to help them. And the first thing they'll say to you, oh, well, don't worry about it. You know, it doesn't matter. It's just they don't feel nothing's gonna happen in their favour. And I am a prime example of it. You must report whatever it is. It's great to see, you know, there are so many forums and ways to report, but I think the message in our community especially certainly hasn't been hammered home. You know, I don't see any proactive group in Peterborough going around. Do you see it? Do you see flyers anywhere? Do you see a campaign? Do you see anything from any body, you know, like major, like, you know, charities, third parties, etc., really pushing it to the community, saying, look, you know, I get it. You know, we go to an event and people are there, they'll say, you need to do this. That's fine. You know, we're happy to do that. But what about the other people? The actual people who are, you know, suffering, they know nothing about this.
Yeah. There certainly, you're right, there certainly hasn't been a campaign of any day. It's certainly not that I've seen. I mean, at the minimum, you'd think that massages, the mosques in Peterborough are the ones with a centre for Muslim community, certainly. And there should be something up on the board there, some sort of poster or something.
I think they should be further than that, brother. I actually think that the mosques themselves should be taking, taking a really active, proactive role here. You know, in fact, you know, I'd go as far as saying that Jummah prayers and things like that, khutbah should be mentioned at the end or whatever, or, you know, regularly, or, you know, really pushing it out there, really empowering the people that go to these mosques, but not just mosques, youth clubs, you know, all the children that go and play football and boxing and all these things. There should be a proactive campaign here where everybody in the city, whether you're a Muslim or a Jew, or if you're Polish, or if you're black, whatever it is, every single member of this community should feel that they're part of this community. Yeah. But moreover, they should feel that there is something there, that somebody's out there who's going to look out for them, not just the police, which unfortunately, for whatever reason, we seem to lack the confidence in.
Yeah.
I think all those are very valid recommendations, and certainly, again, since the last few months that these incidents have happened, there has been a lot more work now done than before, and certainly that third-party reporting centres have increased. They've only been increased. They were previously just a couple, and now they're more. And I agree with the point that there needs to be a much more higher level of what I call publicity, but also active citizenship.
Yeah.
So people need to be. A lot of people are aware. But again, until it happens to me, I'm not going to deal something. That there is an element of that as well. Okay. So we need to do both.
Okay, Jared, I want you to hold that thought because we're going to go to a break now. Okay, Assalamu alaikum listeners, please. We're talking about hate crime, bullying in and out of school. Please don't go away. Do come back. Assalamu alaikum.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
When bombs rained down on Iraq and Afghanistan, when famine swept across Ethiopia, we were there. When floods and earthquakes destroyed Pakistan and Bangladesh, when genocide gripped Bosnia and Darfur, and each time lives were taken in Gaza, we were there, saving lives. We've been at every major emergency since 1984, and we're there now, in over 40 countries worldwide. Donate to Islamic Relief and save a life now. Islamic Relief. Saving lives since 1984.
Fed up with rising insurance costs, a distinct lack of service, and brokers who only contact you when they want your money? Why not try something different? Insure 24/7 is a community-based insurance brokerage offering competitive premiums and a great service. Taxis, properties and businesses, we cover them all. Call us on 01733 856 699. Or visit us, 58 to 60 Lincoln Road, Peterborough. Insure 24/7. We've got you covered. Insure 24/7 is a trading name of Insurance Services, authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority.
Having issues with your tenants? Stressed by not receiving rent on time? Is your agent not giving you the service you pay for? Why not speak to Tenant Find? We offer a rent guarantee service, online login to view your statements and invoices, repair cover to ensure you are not left with drastic repair costs or boiler repairs, giving you total peace of mind. If you're having issues with your current tenants, we can help you evict through the courts. Call Tenant Find today on 01733 563 580 or visit tenantfind.co.uk. Tenant Find, 237 Lincoln Road, Peterborough. We take the stress out of letting.
आला बड़े पैसे आई गए ने कराना दो भाई काम शुरू कराए
पैसे नहीं भाई यूके प्लम्बिंग एंड डीआईवाई नहीं ऑफर ही इस रानी है
लाला यूके प्लम्बिंग वाले कड़ियां चीज़ां बेचने न
घर है कि अपग्रेड करनियां सारियां चीज़ां बाथां टॉयलेटां टैप्स बॉयलर रेडिएटर प्लम्बिंग फिटिंग्स पेंट स्टोर डीआईवाई टाइलां सारा कुछ बेचने नहीं
चीज़ां कोई सस्तियां भी बेचने न को नहीं
ओए साल ले 12 महीने इन्हां ऑफरां लगी होणियां नहीं
और जल्दी कर मी पता 10 होए मैं भी कराना काम शुरू करासां
ऐ किन्ना पता
Please visit us at Unit 2 Brassey Close, Lincoln Road Industrial Estate, PE1 2AZ, or call 01733 555 826. UK Plumbing and DIY, a name you can trust.
الحديث 21 عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: قال الله تعالى: ثلاثة أنا خصمهم يوم القيامة، رجل أعطى بي ثم غدر، ورجل باع حرا فأكل ثمنه، ورجل استأجر أجيرا فاستوفى منه ولم يعطه أجره. رواه البخاري وكذلك ابن ماجه وأحمد.
Hadith 21. On the authority of Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with him, from the Prophet, may the blessings and peace of Allah be upon him, who said that Allah the Almighty said, there are three whose adversary I shall be on the day of resurrection. A man who has given his word by me and has broken it. A man who has sold a free man and has consumed the price. And a man who has hired a workman, has exacted his due in full from him and has not given him his wage. It was related by Al-Bukhari, also by Ibn Majah and Ahmad ibn Hanbal.
Broadcasting 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This is Salam Radio.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to Let's Talk. It's a show that brought to you by Salam Radio on 16.2 FM, and for Luton listeners, it's brought to you by Inspire FM on 105.1. Before the break, we were talking about, we've got our guest Javed Khan from Peterborough City Council. He's the Community Cohesion Manager, and we were talking about the Cohesion and Diversity Forum, whose main theme this week that it happened, main theme was bullying in and out of school. So we've been talking about that. We've touched on some very interesting areas, and Javed has provided us with some wonderful insight. Now, if you've heard anything that kind of rings true and you want to share your experience, or you want to give a comment or something, we'd love to hear from you as always. So please do call us in on studio phone at 0173602 133. That's 0173602 133, and we'll have you on air to give us your comments and your thoughts. Yep. Or alternatively, you can always text and WhatsApp us on 07745 278 978. Okay, Javed, Jazakallah khair for your comments earlier. Now I want to just kind of, so we've spoken about schools and we've spoken about Peterborough City Council and the different services that are on offer, and what different groups and teams are doing to kind of provide avenues for reporting for people who are kind of suffering. Hey, I want to move the conversation just slightly more towards the other side. So where parents are, where children or parents are, children are affected, and the parental engagement and community engagement much more broadly. So what do you find? Do you find that parents are engaged in this process, and whenever something like this happens, they are on the phone and they're willing and more effective to report this?
I can quote you an incident without going into details, and that is basically, in a nutshell, sums up my perspective. A parent once phoned a council number and shared about some of the situation regarding the parent's child. I'm trying to steer away from the gender and wherever, just in case it slips, because I promised that I was not going to say that, to give out the details. And there were things which we're not happy with. And we said, right, the first thing we need to do is that we need to take it to the school or the college or the academy they're concerned. But the parent was very, very to do that. And when they were comfortable to share with the council, but they weren't wanted to actually be their name to be known to the school.
Right.
Now, which created a big challenge for us, because if we go to the school without telling the name, without telling the source, the incident, as soon as we told the incident, it will be evident who the person was and where the issues has come from.
So why were the parents reluctant to kind of...
When I talked to the person, the parents was, look, I don't want this to bother my kids in the school. I've got other children in the school as well. And I really encourage that person to say, look at alternatives, look at various things, write to your counselor, tell whatever. But I don't think anything happened. But again...
Did they feel that their child will be kind of stigmatized by it, or maybe
I think there's some kind of concerns for the child,
right?
But I also feel that there is that's kind of not only just with schools. When I talk to a lot of community people, similar things would happen when they're dealing with issues with maybe public health, maybe hospitals with others, unless it is really come to that stage, and when it goes above, then they will go to that extent. Otherwise, very big difference with other communities that I work with, and I'm being very broad brush, I must apologize because it's very individual's behavior. I think we need to encourage people to report and issues that they are not comfortable with. They need to make a formal complaint if they have to, but they need to go it writing so there is a record on tracing back. Yes. Because otherwise, the first thing when you go to say you go to police and you say there's a lot of children name calling, and the first thing they'll say is that where are the report incidents? And so none of them are reported. Ties them down.
So it's not enough to just have a verbal conversation. That has to be followed up, if not sent in via writing email or letter or whatever it may be.
There are so many avenues you can go through. I mean, going back on hate crime, but again, there are other things. True Vision is a website where people can report to. It's captured nationally. Again, I take back your earlier points. These are the points, and I'm taking that as one of the key action for myself to take it back to the people who are dealing with hate crime, that this kind of message needs to be included in some kind of a proactive campaign.
I think this is what you just said there and yourself there, brother, it's a sad state of affairs. That we don't feel confident. We're so worried about what other people are going to think, and not, looking at our son or daughter or society as a whole, how by us taking action they might benefit in the future.
Yes,
that's the problem. That's a serious problem. It's narrow-minded, but I think it's unfair to just call it that. I think it's a lack of empowerment, and also, again, we're going back to the confidence thing, but I think it's definitely empowerment. People are thinking, well, if I did that, then my son's going to get bullied, but they're not thinking, hold on, if I take a stance now, surely that's going to ruffle the feathers. It's going to put the cat amongst the pigeons here and try and do something. But we have that mindset. I've witnessed just the other day. It was a health issue, and there was a very serious health issue. It was a mistake done by a doctor. It's affected a person's life, but the person who's been affected has a life-changing situation now, still doesn't want to report it. And I said, look, I'll report this for you. But no, they don't want to report it, and I just don't understand here. Myself, I was a victim of a hate crime. I can assure you, if you go and follow the right avenues, the police will support you.
I guess if it's written record, schools they are obliged.
They are obliged.
Because they get audited. They're not audited on verbal conversations because that's not written form. That's not recorded anyway. But if there's a written record, then schools are obliged to respond appropriately.
Yeah, and to add to that as well, we recently attended the Islamophobia event at a school in Peterborough, which is hosted by Islam Radio. Do you recall that?
Right, yes, yeah, absolutely.
And we had
men, right?
Men, that's right. Yeah. We had men there, and they said that the school should have a written policy of how they deal with bullying and hate crime.
And they do.
And they do. But if, as parents, we don't exercise our right to report and test that process, how will we know that it's effective?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that came out in the forum was that all the schools do have that. It's a regulatory tick box exercise. A lot of them do not follow it through, do not implement its recommendations, and that ends up, I wouldn't say a lot of them, but this one school in particular, and it ends up in fueling the hate and bullying that goes on.
I think, to be fair, we need to actually follow that through first, and that's exactly because I know all of the schools, academies, they are really, this is something which is high on the profile of Ofsted.
Right.
And so it is not something where my school or your school can do something else. So I think...
But clearly the examples that were coming out there, and I personally know of an example, the school was very reluctant to take any real action. Yes. And I think a lot of the stories, the anecdotal stories that were there, albeit very small sample size, but there was clearly a failure, and that's why we're having this conference, right? That's why there was this forum about bullying, because there is a failure on parts of schools and wider society to take any meaningful action.
I take your point.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to stress here as well is we're not just talking about race here. We're not talking about faith. I mean, I was talking to a brother off air. You know, there's mate crime, which is replacing hate crime, as children with Asperger's and autism increasingly being abused and robbed by so-called friends. This is really this is a society issue. You know, you have these vulnerable adults, vulnerable children who have been befriended in schools, and then their iPads have been stolen or their money's been taken from them. You know, where are the, what's going on there?
Unfortunately, bullying is that kind of menace, isn't it? Whereby the people go after people who are vulnerable.
Yes.
And people who they can bully and get away with it. And one of the things I want to also talk about is that as you mentioned, Javed, that this parent reported it to you but didn't really want it to go any further, or at least not his child's name. The problem there is, and I think we're seeing this a lot, where either parents are, I mean, and we know in our community there is almost a generational, there's a generational gap in any community, but even to some extent a cultural gap, which means that parents aren't necessarily talking to their children as regularly as they should, and not really picking up on the telltale signs, and that channel of engagement at times is not there. But when it is there, and if they then don't take any action, what ends up happening is that the child just thinks it becomes normalized, this normal part of everyday living. And this is what we're seeing with Islamophobic crime, I think, is that a lot of it doesn't get reported because people are now accepting it as part of normal everyday living in British society, which is wrong, which shouldn't be the case.
It's totally unacceptable.
Absolutely.
I think that's the crux of the first mistake, is that to accept it.
Yes.
And again, going back to your example of school, there's one avenue, so you take it as communication, parental communication is obviously crucial, but understanding that, reporting it through one avenue, but if one avenue sometimes doesn't give you the right result or that to the satisfactory, not letting it go, continue on. There are other avenues available in this country. There are avenues apart from schools. There are police, there are the councillors, there are MPs, there are other regulatory authorities. So which is very different to any other background which may have come from.
Again, I know you mentioned that there are all these kind of avenues and channels that people, but if that kind of communication is not there, if the marketing is not, or a campaign is not done within and we're talking about Muslim community in particular, but I suppose communities at large, then they're just not going to get used up, and it almost becomes a tick box exercise even by the council.
And the other thing to add here as well, I think it's really important as well, if the people then take the first step and then decide, right, I'm going to report this, and then at that first level, like you just said, if it fails and you can go to someone else, that immediately knocks their confidence again.
That's why, absolutely.
This requires grassroots change, proactive action from the people, leaders of our communities, mosque leaders, social leaders, MPs, governments, police. Everybody needs to work together consistently for a long period of time for this to have an effect. I'm sorry, but having people just come along and say, well, we've set up this, that's fine, it looks great, but if the community themselves, whichever community you may belong to, isn't involved actively, proactively, nothing's going to change. And unfortunately, what's going to happen there is, which we're seeing, like those children which are being bullied, who are self-harming, they are thinking, I can't accept it, because if I've just reported this to my parent, they've accepted it, who else can I turn to?
Yeah. And sometimes, unfortunately, they report it to a teacher, as in some of the examples, they will report it to a teacher, but the teacher won't take any notice. They won't take it seriously. And I think that, again, it takes a lot for somebody to report something. And if that is, like I said, Akil, if that is knocked down, and if that's sort of not taken seriously, then it knocks their confidence, and they just feel, well, there's nobody else that can help us out.
I think we really need to have this conversation involving the schools. And people like that. There are forums like head teacher forums in the city, and again others similar adverts where this kind of conversation. That's why I said what we have had yesterday or a few days ago is the part one, is the first stage of that step. And this is our opportunity. When there is a risk, there's an opportunity. There have been a challenge, and we want to make sure we want to take it further.
Yeah.
And that's why it's very important that we can sit down and complain or do something about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, by doing something about it, like what you're doing today, is a proactive step.
I mean, it has to be visible. I mean, we know that there was a time when Jewish people were faced by anti-Semitism, and they took, and the government took and has taken unbelievable measures to stamp that out. And now nobody would dare say anything anti-Semitic, and if they did do, they'll be immediately pounced upon, not by the government itself, but by the authorities, but also by the media.
Society as well.
Society as a whole doesn't accept that, and I think the same should apply. I mean, Islamophobia is on a rise. The hate crime Islamophobia is 13.3% on year increase, and today it's becoming acceptable to be Islamophobic, to be anti-Muslim. The media is largely familiar. I mean, if children in play schools are calling other children suicide bomber or terrorist, where are they getting that from?
The problem you got there then, brother, is we've lost a generation. It's going to take 50 years. 50 years before something else is going to happen next. That's a generation we're losing here. We're watching this with our own eyes, and people are just stepping back thinking, well, it doesn't really affect me.
No.
Take, for example, now, you've got the acid attack that's happened with those two guys. They're in their car, best mates. One of them is his birthday. A chap comes up to the window and sprays acid in their face.
Mukhtar and his cousin.
That's right, cousin, right?
Yeah.
And sprays acid in their face. They thought it was a prank initially, but it turns out she started, see the clothes being burning and skin burning. They drove off trying to get away, crashed the car, got out of the car, started removing the clothing, begging people for water. And this is not being treated even as a terrorist attack.
That was 8 days ago.
Yeah, but
it's rare. I mean, he's now
We're talking about a case not in Peterborough.
Not in Peterborough.
I just wanted to make sure your listeners are very clear.
But acid attacks are happening in Luton, in Birmingham. I mean, they're happening
London.
everywhere. And the problem is these are people who are, pretending that their racism is somehow patriotic. And I think that needs to be stopped. And this is just an escalation of this kind of underlying hate and racism which comes up. And if the schools, that's why the schools are so important. If they don't stamp it out at that stage, it just grows up and affects all of us.
I think this atmosphere is obviously not healthy, and that's totally acceptable. I don't take the point about losing the 50 years of generation, because as I was quoting, 911, my son, and all that kind of stuff happened, and we've gone through that. But
you would, I mean, I don't know if you would agree that Muslims today, I mean, I was growing up pre 9/11. And I was very confident, right or wrong, I was very confident to express my view. Whether it was, when you're young and overzealous and everything is black and white. But, we had school, we had teachers, we had that conversations. People didn't ostracize you. They didn't think, oh, you're a terrorist or you're extremist or whatever.
Yeah.
So you have that, you get that out of your system, and you grow up and you be a better person.
Yep.
Muslims today are feeling undermined, are feeling lack of confidence. They can't really come out and say they're Muslims in many cases because they fear that there's going to be Islamophobic attacks, some sort of hate towards them. I mean, I saw a video in Oxford, I think it's happened today or on Sunday, where a group of women were sitting having their Eid party, and a group of other people were sitting playing, and then suddenly they got in an altercation and racial abuse was slurred at them, and now the police is taking action. The point is, this is becoming a common thing now, which is undermined. And so I think we maybe not losing a generation, but we certainly are losing Muslims who are confident as British Muslims. That confidence has been knocked out.
But I don't dispute that. But I think the main thing this time is we need to find solutions together.
Yes,
that's what it is.
No, I totally agree with you.
We can actually knock it down and say, well, this is it, lose the confidence. No. I want to say, no, this country is providing a lot of avenues and examples about zero tolerance in Peterborough. I mean, I told you beforehand, we have recently got a case where a Sikh gentleman went through some kind of a racial aggravated crime, and he recently, the case was reported, went to court, the person has been convicted and imprisoned imprisonment for I think 16 weeks.
Great result.
Now that's a kind of, and with an aggravated kind of added penalty because of the aggravation. When I was sitting here, I just received a text from my current friends from the police as well. They're saying, look, we have got recently just charged people. They're saying, just to let you know, we have charged another male in the last 2 hours for abusing an employee of a coffee shop in town. Now, all these there's zero tolerance from the police. There's a commitment from the local authority, and I can say from the schools in large. I'm not saying everybody is an angel. There are always cases which will slip by, whether it's police or council or schools. I'm not saying everybody will be 100%, but then that's why we need to work together. The togetherness is very important. We need to find solutions together. Here, as a local government, as a national government, we're trying to give that plateau, that forum for people to come together. And that's where it's very important what program you're doing and the kind of forum that we did, that we very on continue together.
Javed, I take your point. But I sometimes feel that we're fighting a losing battle. And I'd quantify that because Miqdar Walsi of MCB recently said that we have a national newspaper spreading hate and talking about how less Islam is the answer to terrorism that we're all faced with. Peter Osborne has stated something similar in Middle East Eye. And for every one positive story in the newspaper, you have 21 negative
minimum
stories. Half of all topics discussed stories about Islam and Muslims are related to conflict, and the common terms used are violence, terror, bomb, problem, threat, etc. Most common terms after Islamic include extremist, jihad, militant. Now, 1 in 5. So with all this sort of national coverage, which is so much anti-Muslim in so many ways, where 21 stories for every one story is a negative story told. Are we fighting a losing battle? Are we just gonna? Even the police are overwhelmed by this.
I think, what I remember is I think Mr. Sheikh Habib Al-Jifri, who is a well-known sheikh internationally. He a few years ago came to Peterborough, and somebody said the same thing. He said the same in a big forum. It was an event in one of the academies, a big academy with 150 people or more. And somebody said exactly the same thing, saying, look, all the media they have nothing, but they've got Islamophobic. They're coming back and they're making these things. And I think the quote example was the cartoon. It was drawn with a bomb on the head. That was the example we quoted. What is your view, Sheikh? And he said, I get very sad. He said, why? He get very sad is what kind of example have I given to others about our Prophet? There are people who are always twisted, but what kind of example are we doing? That we need to look ourselves. That's what he said. And the second, he said, so what are we going to do about all these media who are so negative about it? And he said, what is the percentage of the population in Peterborough, which is Muslim? He said, well, 5%, 9%, 10%. So how many newspapers have you got? Well, nationally we got 15, 20, 30, whatever. He said, if all that media were going negative about Islam, and they said we will do that, but the people, the behavior of the people was based on what is our proper teaching of Quran and Sunnah, the way we behave with our children, the way we behave with the spouse, the way we behave with the neighbors. What do you think? Those people will continue to buy those newspapers and say, this is representing? He said, this is a wake-up call for us. We need to wake up ourselves. Before we point at others, we're saying the others are wrong. We will need to condemn it. But at the same time, let's be the ambassador for Islam that we are all aiming to be.
Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that.
That's not my point. That was Habib Jifri's point.
That's fine. But the problem we've got here is a lot of the people who are being Islamophobic aren't basing it on their neighbours. They're not basing it on the cities they're living in. They're basing it on the people outside of the UK. They're basing it on what they're seeing in Syria. They're basing it on what they're seeing in Iraq. Then they're basing it on what's seen in Paris, Berlin, America, the UK. It's not me or you. We're fine. We're going to have friends who are going to love us. They're going to think, oh, Islam's great. But they switch on the TV and they're seeing someone with a bomb around his body. That's not the Islam they're seeing. So we're in no control of the fellow man.
I think the point is that I take that point, but the problem is that we had the Equality and Diversities Act 2012, and one of the reasons why we have that act is because at times government has to step in. The police force, they were forced to take officers from ethnic minorities further up to open up those avenues and open up those opportunities.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the media plays a big part. The media does. I mean, the tabloid papers do govern a lot of a huge sway of British society and the way they think. And unless they are challenged, and unless these are challenged, we could all become angels. But I think even then, if there's a constant barrage of hatred and Islamophobia that comes out of these papers, then that's got to be challenged, and that's what we're talking about, challenging.
We need to go further. We need to go into not just our behavior. We need to things like what people like Salam Radio and certain like Khatija Mosque, now that Faisal is here and others as well, people like in Kotim, that there are people, the way that things are done, the cohesion dinner, the people going out to people, going out to the churches, going out to meet. The reason is, I was recently, I won't go into details, but I was seeing a video clip about some obviously very anti-Islamic people coming outside the East London mosque. You probably can think of which one I'm referring to. And the people who were coming out to defend were not Muslims, but were the English people who were saying you are wrong, and they actually made them go away because of the behavior. Now, what I'm saying is that we need to be collectively working with the wider community. We, on the whole, we have got a very an environment which is a much more balanced. I'm much more comfortable here in this country than in many of the other so-called developed countries that I'm seeing, and I think we need to build on that that kind of positivities. Going to people, going to mosques, going to churches, getting people in, and also and kind of acting that we want to do proactively. This is, to me, that's an opportunity to do. I mean, if I can use the crude words, this is our opportunity.
Now, I guess what you're also trying to say, and it's something I certainly promote myself, is be the change you want to see in the world. I totally understand that. I think going forward, I think this requires a really open and honest conversation in our community. We need education for our parents, for our brothers and sisters, to empower them when their children are going to schools, so they can feel that they can report it.
Absolutely.
That's really, really important. And I can't stress this enough to all our listeners. It doesn't matter who you are. If you know somebody who's been a victim of a hate crime, no matter how small it is, take control of that situation, report it on their behalf, get involved.
Do not be a silent bystander.
Do not be a silent bystander. We need these stats. Nationally, it looks like there's nothing happening. We need. This is, I can tell you now, one of the most underreported crimes in Britain.
I want to just say one word, is that reporting, people often think report means reporting to police. No. Reporting doesn't mean only reporting to police. There are other avenues, and I'll make sure that the information that we have been sharing with by the Superintendent Jip with the other mosque and partners is also shared with yourself, so that can be relayed. And I'll definitely take us an action about this publicity campaign to actually promote it further. But thank you very much for that great opportunity.
Jazakallah khair, Javed. Jazakallah khair for coming. We're really wonderful to have you on, and I think we've learned a lot. We've been talking about hate crime, we've been talking about bullying, we've been talking about Islamophobia in our society. So Jazakallah khair for listening, brothers and sisters. You're listening to Let's Talk. I'm your host Hamid Chowdhury, and with my co-host Akil Halil, and inshallah we'll see you next week. Assalamu alaikum.
Stay vigilant.
Finest vehicles from many of the most prestigious marques. We specialise in low mileage vehicles which predominantly come with one owner and full dealer service history. Finance and warranty options available with bespoke packages. Contact us on Peterborough 555 330 or visit our website morecarslimited.com.
Do you have lots of clutter at home or in the office that needs to be kept but nowhere to keep it? Ivet Self-Storage offers a secure, affordable, clean and dry home for your belongings. We have security systems in place which are monitored 24 hours a day, ensuring that your items are safe. With a simple monthly payment, Ivet Self-Storage provides secure and tailored facilities to meet your specific requirements, whether short or long term. We offer the best prices and longest opening hours in Peterborough. For more information, please call on 01733 306 456 or visit us at Ivet Way, Westwood. Why not make your giving this Ramadan continue throughout this year and into next? By donating £365 for the year, which is just £1 a day, you can ensure your donation provides support all year round. Help give an orphan the reassurance that somebody cares for them, giving them a little normality in an abnormal world. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "I and the person who looks after an orphan and provides for him will be in paradise like this," putting his peace be upon him, blessed index and middle fingers together. To sponsor an orphan, please call 0300 321 0032 or visit our website childrenofadam.net to donate or set up a monthly direct debit. May Allah reward you throughout this year for your precious gift.
Head Candy Hair and Beauty. Precision cutting, pro styling, colouring, highlighting, perming and more. Walk in or by appointment. Head Candy Hair and Beauty, 339B Lincoln Road, Peterborough. Call us now on 01733 344 773 or 07710 911 117.
Are you looking to boost your child's educational potential? Is your child struggling with key concepts in English, maths, science or other subjects? At IQ Plus, we provide value-added tuition, mentoring and guidance. IQ Plus help children succeed at 11+, SATs, GCSE, A-levels and homeschooling. We also help with university applications and CV writing and can provide first aid courses. IQ Plus is an accredited exam centre and registered with Ofsted. Contact us on 01733 551111 or email admin@iqplus.co.uk to arrange a free consultation or assessment.
Allah's Apostle ﷺ said, Allah has 99 names, 100 less one, and he who memorized them all by heart will enter paradise. To count something means to know it by heart.
This is Salam Radio, Peterborough's Muslim community radio. Broadcasting on 106.2 FM and online.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters, respected elders, good evening. You're listening to Friday Night Prime with me, Ahmed Suleiman and Faisal Mahmood. We're back with you after a month's gap here on Salam Radio 106.2 FM, Inspire FM on 105.1, of course Facebook Live, online at salamradio.co.uk, and of course our iPhone and Android apps. We're always on air for you 24/7, 365, uniting all communities. Brothers and sisters, Salam Radio is all about creating unity and harmony within the Muslim and wider community, delivering the positive message of true Islam and promoting peace and harmony. So we're back, and we're back with an exclusive show for you, this first show after Ramadan. And today we're joined by none other than world-renowned nasheed artist Zain Bika, and he will be joining us live via Skype and Skype video as well, inshallah, in a few minutes' time to talk about his career to date, how it all started for him, his upcoming albums, his son's debut album, and his views on some interesting questions that we'll pose to him as well. So please make sure you stay tuned. You really don't want to miss this Salam Radio exclusive. It's good to be back, Brother Faisal, isn't it?
It's amazing to be back, especially in the studio with you. I was doing shows during Ramadan. I don't know if you were listening.
Of course, I was with Brother Muzaffar. They were great shows.
Yeah,
so you haven't actually had a break?
I've had 1 week off.
Oh, you've had a week off?
Week off, yeah.
Alhamdulillah. But I've had the whole of Ramadan off, so it's actually really good to be back. So I hope we've got keen listeners, because we're certainly keen. But as usual, listeners, you can get involved in the show by sending us a WhatsApp message on 07745 278 978, or you can give us a call on 01733 602 133. If you want to ask a question to Zain Bika, you can do that as well. Before we speak to Zain in a few minutes, let's hear one of his nasheeds which is, we're not long past Eid, so let's listen to one of his nasheeds all around Eid, inshallah.
Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, walillahil hamd. Ramadan has come and gone, Eid has dawned upon us. Thank you, Allah, for this blessed day. It's a time of happiness, a time of joy. Thank you, Allah, for this blessed day. Eidun Sa'idun, Yawmun Farhanun, Yawmun Jamilun, Eidun Sa'id. Eidun Sa'idun, Yawmun Jamilun, Yawmun Farhanun, Eidun Sa'id. All over the world, under the big blue sky, Muslims unite to worship Allah. It's a time of brotherhood, a time of peace. Muslims are singing praises to Allah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Wallahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, walillahil hamd. Families are gathering, remembering Allah, and that His love is the greatest by far. All praise for you, Allah, all thanks to you. The joy of Eid comes only from you. Eidun Sa'idun, Yawmun Farhanun, Yawmun Jamilun, Eidun Sa'id. Eidun Sa'idun, Yawmun Jamilun, Yawmun Farhanun, Eidun Sa'id. This day of rejoicing, this day of peace, did only you make for those who believe. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Wallahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, walillahil hamd. Eidun Sa'idun, Yawmun Farhanun, Yawmun Jamilun, Eidun Sa'id. Eidun Sa'idun, Yawmun Jamilun, Yawmun Farhanun, Eidun Sa'id. Ramadan has come and gone, Eid has dawned upon us. Thank you, Allah, for this blessed day. Eidun Sa'idun, Yawmun Farhanun, Yawmun Jamilun, Eidun Sa'id. Eidun Sa'idun, Yawmun Jamilun, Yawmun Farhanun, Eidun Sa'id. Eidun Sa'id, Eidun Sa'id, Eidun Sa'id, Eidun Sa'id, Eidun Sa'id, Eidun Sa'id.
MashaAllah, that was the one and only Zain Bika with his beautiful MashaAllah voice, with a song to celebrate Eid, which is not long past us, of course. It's the week of Eid. I hope you've all had a great Eid. I know I have. And of course, I hope you've had a fantastic Ramadan as well. So before I bring Brother Zain on, let me just, I mean, most of you will know who he is. In fact, all of you will know Brother Zain, of course. But he's joining us via Skype from South Africa, where he lives and where he's from. And he's a world-renowned nasheed artist. Since '94, he's inspired fans the world over with his messages of hope and upliftment. And as a singer, songwriter, and through creative workshops and television, Zain is amongst the most popular English Islamic artists and well-loved by young and old. Now, in 2014, Zain celebrated his 20 years as an artist, mashallah, with 12 albums under his belt and a 13th to be released later this year. As Zain's audience continues to grow in his country of birth, South Africa, as well as globally, and he remains a very much so a pioneer in the nasheed genre of music, where he has set benchmarks for other artists. And his albums have been launched in the UK, North America, Malaysia, France, Turkey, etc. The list goes on, even Australia. And he's touched lives everywhere, performing in cities across most continents. Now, over and above his individual endeavours, Zain has also collaborated and performed with a long list of artists such as Dawood Warnsby, Native Deen, Outlandish, etc. And not forgetting his mentor, Yusuf Islam. Now, his songs are mainly self-composed, performed with no instruments, and through his music, Zayn delivers messages of faith, reassuring people that looking to the Almighty is the hope mankind needs. MashaAllah. So without further ado, let's bring Brother Zayn onto Salam Radio, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Zayn. I hope you can hear me.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. On behalf of everyone at Salam Radio and our listeners, I want to begin by thanking you once again, and of course my co-host for you for joining us today. So, Brother Zayn, what I thought we'd do, and I thought it would be interesting from our listeners' perspective, is start at the very beginning. So could you begin by describing your personal journey that led you to where you are today, to becoming a world-renowned nasheed artist? How did it all start for you?
SubhanAllah, it was, I think, a very simple story. I always used to love singing ever since I was a child. I think, you know, it's something that I can't really explain. I guess every person, Allah gives them something, that's different, something that they enjoy, a passion, And I'm just very, very blessed that whatever Allah gave me, I was able to actually, do it a lot and, of course, enjoy doing it. And SubhanAllah, it has allowed me to also grow as a human being. But I started off as growing up in South Africa. I had an interesting childhood, I must admit, because as you guys know, South Africa was a very strange place, because we had a very unjust society. We had apartheid. So I grew up in a small town in Pretoria. So at the moment I live in Johannesburg, but it's probably about an hour away from here. Okay. And it's interesting because I grew up towards the tail end of apartheid. Of course, my parents and their parents had it much worse. But subhanAllah, it was a very warped society, primarily because everybody had to live separately by law. So, of course, that was based on color.
Yeah.
So, of course, we had people of different races that were forcibly, living together. And I didn't really realize it, subhanAllah, living in that environment, growing up, I didn't know any better. It was only after apartheid ended that I realized, subhanAllah, that just how unjust society was. And I guess we became, as South Africans, we became very aware of color, which is something that maybe it will take generations to change. I think maybe my children don't see color anymore. But I grew up in a very lovely home. I have 3 sisters.
MashaAllah.
I never had a brother. We had a wonderful home. My father and my mother are both very expressive people. They always encourage us to write poetry and to sing and to express ourselves. I think growing up with 3 sisters also helps. Women generally are a lot more expressive than men.
That's true.
I grew up with 5.
MashaAllah, really? 5 sisters. Wow.
Lucky you, I must admit. I think it's good because you learn to see the strength of women, and you learn to appreciate, the role of mothers, the role of sisters, subhanAllah. So, and then I guess in high school I started maybe writing songs, I think, for the first time. They weren't any good, but it was just my attempt to express myself. And then I guess when it all started was 1994, the year the country was changing.
Yeah.
Nelson Mandela was free. I was very young. I turned 18. I voted for the first time in a democratic South Africa. Nelson Mandela became president that year. But for me, that was momentous for 2 reasons. I had a friend who was very close to me. I didn't have a brother, but he was regarded as my brother, because we were always together. I'd known him since he was, we were both 4 or 5 years old. And we were both very young, and it was just a silly incident in Johannesburg, and he got shot and he passed away. And I think that was the first time that I kind of understood, that death comes to all of us. Just because we young or we old, it doesn't matter. We don't know really how much time we have left here. And, truly, everything and everyone belongs to Allah. And I think that was the first time, even though I grew up in a Muslim home, it really hit me that, what was life all about? I had to start exploring my own spirituality.
Yeah.
So I started writing songs, and subhanAllah, that same year there was a competition on a South African, a talk radio station. So it's a very famous radio station up here in Johannesburg. And because those 2 things happened at the same time, I won this competition, subhanAllah, and yet I lost my friend. I guess I just decided that if I was to write something, maybe I should write songs that had a greater meaning, you know?
Yeah.
And one of the first songs I wrote was a song called Give Thanks to Allah.
Oh, mashallah. Mashallah.
Yeah. So that's almost 23 years ago.
We still play that on the radio.
We still play it regularly here on Salam Radio. Yeah. And brother, that when you were first started writing, and obviously it coincided with the unfortunate event of your friend passing away, did you find that a form of release? Did it help you with the healing process? I would imagine it did.
Absolutely. You know, I was with my sister, my younger sister, earlier tonight, before the interview, and she actually showed me a poem that she wrote, you know, and I told her, this is so beautiful. Why don't you share it with people, you know? Of course, they don't sing, but they write a lot of beautiful poetry.
Yeah.
And she was like, you know, I don't think it's any good, and you know. And then I asked her, I said, why do you write? Why do we write? Because we can't help it. You know, we're born like this. You know, we're always writing and we're always expressing ourselves. And I think, as you say, it's a means of maybe getting our feelings out there.
Yes.
It's not really about what other people think of it, or maybe about making a career of it. Because I don't have, this is not my career. This is just a hobby. But it's really just about expressing ourselves. And I think for young people, it's so important, if you have a gift like this, or if you have a passion for it, just to do it for the sake of it, not for anything else. But to answer your question, it was really a beautiful way for me to feel better about what I was going through at the time.
So quite a rewarding experience in terms of writing the sheets, performing the sheets. I imagine that there's many ways in which it rewards an individual by writing and performing. I'm assuming.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think now more so than before.
Okay. Why do you say that? Why do you say more so now?
It's interesting because, you know, when I started, it was just a form of expression.
Okay.
Because I had no intention and I had no expectation. Expectation is an interesting thing, because when you have an expectation and it doesn't always live up to it, it can be difficult. But there was no nasheed, English nasheed concept at that time.
Okay.
There was no song about Islam in English. The only one I'd heard was a bootleg copy of Yusuf Islam's A is for Allah.
Oh.
That was it. I never heard in the 90s, I never heard a song about Islam in English. It was all in Urdu and Arabic, you know. So for me, I was just writing and I was just enjoying the process. But I guess now, and it's a good question you raised, because I guess now when I do it, I find it a lot more rewarding, because I know, I really realize what an impact it can have.
Yeah.
So if I write a song and I realize, subhanAllah, I pray and Allah can give it barakah, and the song tomorrow can be inspiring children in another part of the world, and a child can, sing along, or maybe a parent can email me and say, my little child loves the song.
MashaAllah.
And that for me can be such a that's I think what makes it worthwhile. I must be honest.
And so that clearly motivates you to carry on and drives you and it gives you passion, I'm assuming. But brother, on that point that you raised there, have there been any instances where your performances or your words have led individuals to embrace Islam? And if so, how and why do you feel it helped them to do so?
Well, there's two experiences really that I come across quite often. People who are searching for something, subhanAllah, and maybe they're learning, of course. They're learning about different religions. Maybe they come across the Quran, they read the message, and then maybe a song like Allah Knows, or a song like Mountains of Makkah can inspire them, subhanAllah. Of course, Allah just uses these things, or, as tools. Allah is the one who guides. And then I find actually more common than that is people who've come to Islam fairly recently, and their hearts are still, becoming attached to the message of the Quran, that they find songs like this as a beautiful cultural aspect of Islam that they weren't aware of it. So maybe they never heard a Muslim song or a song about Islam before, but they've learned about Islam, they've learned about the Quran, they've learned about the Prophet ﷺ, and now they find a song. It can be very inspiring, and especially in parts of the world where music or song is so important. So for example, in this country, in South Africa, in African culture, songs and singing is a very huge part of the African culture. When people get together, whether it's the Zulu tribes or Sotho or Tswana, whatever tribe, African tribe, singing as a community is a very important part of it. So when they come to Islam and they find out that there are Muslim songs, alhamdulillah, it's really inspiring for them.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. I've got a question for you, Brother Zain. When I grew up, I was really into music. I was into rap, hip hop, and those type of things, and then electronic music. And then as I started becoming more religious, obviously you want to continue listening to songs and music and things like that. But obviously, as you're more religious, you want to have the songs with the right messages. And I actually grew up listening to your nasheeds, Dawood Warnsby's, Yusuf Islam. But nowadays what we see a lot of nasheeds which are kind of emulating R&B music or hip-hop music. I've got a view on that. I personally don't think it's a bad thing. I think if the messages are good, then you're kind of inspiring youth and things like that.
I agree.
I mean, we sometimes get a lot of stick on the radio. Sometimes we play something with a little bit of music in there, and people don't like that. I mean, what's your views on that type of thing, on those type of nasheeds?
Oh, I think it's an excellent question. And it's really difficult because, I guess it comes down to my earlier comment about expectation. You know, there's so many young people around the world who are doing this, you know, a lot more. Whether it's in the UK, whether it's in the US, or, you know, other countries. And, you know, when I started, it was easier. It was definitely easier to keep your intentions pure as an artist, because I had no expectations. I mean, I used to make songs on little cassettes those days, and, you know, I didn't really expect anything to happen. I was just doing it for the sake of it. But of course, with the popularity of English Anashid and the whole, you know, fundraising that happens and the shows and the concerts, I guess it's very difficult for a young artist or someone starting out now to do it and really keep your expectations low. So the advice I give young people who come to me all the time and they say, you know, we want to sing and we want to be nasheed artists. The first thing I tell them is, I would suggest that you don't do it full time. I just feel that if you're doing this for a living, it can become very damaging to your soul, and it can become, you know, when you're combining your own artistic expression, but you're combining that with your faith, it's so difficult to strike a balance between what's real and what's not, what's actually, you know, full of barakah and something that's maybe we're crossing the line. And it's a dilemma that as artists we have, and especially when we do a lot of live shows, because, you know, you can be filled with praise, and subhanallah, it shouldn't be about that. It should be about, as you said earlier, it should be about the message of the song, and it should be about how it inspires others, etc. So I believe that there is a place for everyone. Everyone who does something brings something unique. I mean, my kids, literally, when we were driving back home tonight, before this year, we were listening to some nasheeds of another young artist, and they love it. You know, subhanallah, it's a very modern sound. But they love it. They may not necessarily listen to some of my songs, but listen to his songs. So I feel proud and I feel happy that they are still praying the Prophet ﷺ. So I think there's a place for everyone. I think we have to be cautious. Definitely, we have to be cautious about keeping our intentions pure, and we shouldn't maybe try not to cross the line in terms of, you know, moving into things that really Allah will be displeased with. That's the bottom line. If we move into any area, whether it's at our shows or whether it's with our songs, that really, I think, where we lose ourselves and maybe Allah will be displeased with us. You know, because Allah warns us in the Quran. Allah says about the poets who say one thing and do not do not act upon what they say. And for me, it's such a scary warning, because really poets and musicians and, you know, pop singers are the media of our time. So we have to be careful, subhanAllah. So it's a good question, and I think we have to watch ourselves whilst it adds benefit, but we have to be cautious that we don't, you know, displease Allah in a bit of trying to do something good, that it turns out bad.
Mashallah, that's excellent advice. I mean, just kind of following on from that, I'm not just saying that because you're live on Salam Radio, but I remember attending one of the events where you were performing, and the environment I felt was pure Islamic environment, the way, you know, the atmosphere of the audience, and the crowd. Whereas I've attended other events, I'm not going to name them, but it just seems like a pop concert, and it just doesn't sit right with me sometimes.
Right.
Although the young people enjoy it, but maybe I'm just getting too old. I don't know.
I think
I think it's a fantastic point you just raised, because, you know, when I started, we weren't doing many performances. So people would enjoy the songs in their own space. So let's say you're making your child sleep at night, or maybe you're on a long journey with your family, or you're taking the kids to school in the morning and you put on the radio and you listen to a song and you enjoy it. It can be a very beautiful thing, and it can be a very subtle thing. And the person who sings never gets to know about that. And it's just an experience that you are having with the song. But live shows, when you are on stage, and I know this because I'm on stage many, many times.
Yeah.
And it can become very distracting. And in our bid to do good, or we tell ourselves that it's still a good thing, we could be crossing the line. So I think constant evaluation of, especially at live shows, is what you're saying. We need to be cautious that we don't emulate, you know, any form of you know, looking up to someone, or you know, it's basically enjoying the experience. And I know you guys have to go on a break soon, but I just want to say one thing, and I tell all young artists this. I say, don't let it go to your head, because remember, people are enjoying the song not because necessarily because of you. People are enjoying the song because of their connection with Allah. People are enjoying the song because of their connection and their love for the Prophet ﷺ. So when they hear the words that remind them of that love within themselves that they have for their Creator, or the love that they have for the Prophet ﷺ, that's why they love the songs. It could be any one of us singing. It's not about us, it's about the message.
Yeah, that's right. As you rightly said, and Jazakallah for timekeeping, we've got about 90 seconds until our ad break. I'll just set the scene for when we come back in about 10 minutes. But Brother Faisal will want to talk to you about kind of the state of the nasheed industry, in quotes, today, and what direction you think that's going in, and what your thoughts are around that. And we'll also talk to you about some questions of where you find the best audiences are in the countries you've played, and we'll talk about your son, of course, Rashid, who is an up-and-coming artist with his own style, and we'll hear one of his tracks as well towards the end of the show. But so it's been a great first half, and some very insightful responses from you. So Jazakallah khair, Brother Zain, for that. I'm sure our listeners are enjoying it. Just while I've got a few seconds, there's some messages from some listeners. We have a sister, Kimberly, who lives outside of Peterborough, where we're based. She said, Assalamu alaikum to you, passes her salam and Eid Mubarak to yourself, and she'd like to ask you cheekily, in brackets, if she can have a signed copy of your next album. Today is her birthday, and next month is her 12-year-old son's birthday, and really she loves you on the sheet. So if there's anything you can do in that respect, maybe we can talk. You can talk with Qasim afterwards, inshallah. Something could happen, maybe, inshallah. And someone else has also mentioned that you're, mashallah, a very gifted and talented brother. He's been listening to you for over 15 years. Amazing voice and poetry.
Yes, brother on the leap, yeah.
Yeah. So inshallah, we'll be back with you listeners in about 10 minutes.
May endless blessings be upon thee, O sweet and beautiful Madani. May endless blessings be upon thee, O sweet and beautiful Madani.
طلع البدر على
to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
Thinking about iftar? So are those who have nothing to break their fast with. Feed a fasting person at Masjid Al-Aqsa for just £6 a day, or give a family a whole month's supply of food for just £65 in a country of your choice. Make a difference to someone's life this Ramadan and earn multiple rewards from Allah. Now is the time to give. Visit humanappeal.org.uk or call 0161 225 0225.
More Cars is so much more than a dealership. It is a warm, friendly, family-owned business set in the heart of Peterborough, located in our modern, bespoke, heated showroom with full dealership facilities. We source only the finest vehicles from many of the most prestigious marques. We specialise in low-mileage vehicles, which predominantly come with one owner and full dealer service history. Finance and warranty options available with bespoke packages. Contact us on Peterborough 555 330. Or visit our website morecarslimited.com.
Do you have lots of clutter at home or in the office that needs to be kept but nowhere to keep it? Ivet Self Storage offers a secure, affordable, clean and dry home for your belongings. Hours a day, ensuring that your items are safe. With a simple monthly payment, Ivet Self Storage provides secure and tailored facilities to meet your specific requirements, whether short or long term. We offer the best prices and longest opening hours in Peterborough. For more information, please call on 01733 306 456 or visit us at Ivet Way, Westwood. Why not make your giving this Ramadan continue throughout this year and into next by donating £365
You're listening to Salam Radio, and it's now time for
This
Maghrib
Azan
Bazaar.
is sponsored by Sovereign Accountants. We offer support to help maximise your business potential and profits. Call us on 01733 567 111. Sovereign Accountants, where your success is our aim.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa Allah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
الله أكبر، الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته. اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم بك نحيا وبك نموت وإليك المصير. رضينا بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نبيا ورسولا.
Allah, Allah. This is Salam Radio, Peterborough's Muslim community radio, broadcasting on 106.2 FM and online.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to Salam Radio on 106.2 FM. You're listening to Friday Night Prime with me, Ahmed Suleiman, and my co-host Faisal Mahmood. If you just joined us, we are very fortunate to have been joined in the first half and the rest of the second half by Zain Bika, no less, the world-renowned nasheed artist. Assalamu alaikum, brother Zain.
Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much once again for having me on the show.
No problem. We lost you there for a second. I was a bit worried. But mashallah, you're still with us. That's great. Yeah, thanks for coming back. Brother Faisal, I think we were going to talk about industry generally.
That's right, yeah. So just following on from my previous questions, on the same sort of lines, I just wanted to get your insight into what you think or how you can describe the state of the nasheed industry today. Would you feel it's at its peak, or do you feel there's a long way to go? And just a bit of background on why you think what you think.
Yeah, well, it is interesting because it has become an industry, if we may call it that. I don't know, to be honest, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. On the positive note, subhanallah, it allows many more people to, to use the talent that Allah has given them and to, try to do something creatively to inspire others. But I guess also with popularity, I wouldn't say success, but I would say popularity, you are faced with struggles within your own self, and of course you worry about the direction sometimes it takes, and that's as per what we spoke about earlier. I do think that of course it's never been as popular as it has become now. And I mean, if I think about over the last 15-20 years, subhanallah, the songs, the number of people who are writing and producing and singing, and of course the other big advantages with technology, subhanallah, today you can write a song and it can be out and you can give it out to the world within minutes because of social media. So it has become easy. I think it definitely will grow as well. I guess what maybe we've put a word to it which is called nasheed, one word. But yet the style of all the songs are becoming so diverse.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, nasheed, like what you played earlier, Yusuf Islam singing Talat Badru Alayna, which is basically 1995. I clearly remember listening to that song and just, subhanAllah, it was so beautiful. And it still is. And in the tradition of nasheed, where there isn't much instruments, it's mostly vocal, maybe with some light hand drums or hand percussion. Really, for me, and especially in the Arabic language, is really the concept of simple anasheed. I think now we're finding Islamic-based songs or Islamic-based music with different genres. Like we have some style maybe in R&B, as you said, or maybe hip-hop, or maybe a lot more modern melodies, a lot more sometimes musical instruments, etc. So I think it is evolving. Maybe positively, sometimes we have to be cautious, and sometimes in a negative way. Again, I think I'm not sure, to be honest, where it's going to go. I just pray that, subhanallah, having been involved in this for a long time, I just hope that the artists themselves really remain true to themselves. They sing from the heart. They really believe in what they're doing. We don't become hypocritical in any way, and we try to keep the purpose pure and our intentions pure. Subhanallah, everything's based on that. And I think with success, in inadvertent covers, with popularity, that's going to be a bigger challenge.
Yeah. I mean, I sometimes feel it's not always the artist. Sometimes, I mean, it happens with the normal, mainstream music industry, where it's record companies and people who sign artists up. Sometimes they can shape the direction in which the artist is going, and this is where, going back to your point, Brother Zain, it's down to the intention and remaining true to what you stand for and your word, really.
Absolutely, I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah. So really, continuing on from that question, what do artists such as yourself feel that the direction the industry should go in?
Well, we shouldn't forget that the power of the medium of song. It's a beautiful medium. It's amazingly powerful, especially for young people, especially for kids. Young kids growing up, they can learn a song within minutes. They can sing the same song, and it's a very, very powerful medium. As I suppose then they go into their teenage years, music and songs become even more important. And unfortunately, whether we like it or not, modern music, 99% of it doesn't have very positive messages. No. Messages that are conducive to trying to be a good Muslim. So it becomes very challenging. So the more songs, or the more we use the medium of song in a very responsible way, that we can provide something for our children to listen to, I think it's a good thing. And we can use the medium of song to educate and to inspire, not necessarily to entertain, but definitely to educate and inspire.
Yeah.
So do it in a responsible way. And you've raised a very good point. Sometimes it's not the artist, but the people around them, to keep the intentions pure, to really try to keep your I suppose your priorities straight, which is again very, very difficult, especially when you have a level of popularity. Things can you can get ahead of yourself. And I say this very, very sincerely. I don't really want to come across as a preachy or anything, but I know as a human being, I've been on stage many, many times, and it's very, very easy to get lost within that, and we really need to sometimes take a step back, subhanallah, and just to redefine who we are. We can't be obsessed with Facebook and Instagram and and YouTube.
Easily done, though.
Very.
The most important thing that we as human beings have to focus on is getting closer to Allah. And that, I can tell you, having been on stage many, many times, is not the place where you can get closer to Allah. As an artist performing on stage, it can be a very deceiving, very difficult thing when you're in the public eye all the time. It's the sacrifice that you make with your family, the everyday work, whether it's in education or whether you're just praying a lot, or whether that's when you get closer to Allah, or you do charity work, or whatever the case may be. But if you're constantly in the limelight on stage, it can be very difficult and challenging for your own soul. So, get closer to Allah, do as much as you can, whether it's for other people, whether you get an applause or not, doesn't matter. But, dedicate your own life, your own self to education, to learn more about Islam, because we get closer to Allah through beneficial knowledge. And then, of course, if we do some songs and you try to inspire others, subhanallah, it's a good thing. But I don't think it should be the focus of our lives. And that's really the advice. I give my own son that advice, I mean, this is the first time he's launched his own album.
Yeah.
But he's 24 years old. He's much older. And I told him, please, don't take it too seriously. Give of your best, but he's got a full-time job, and he's finished his studies. So alhamdulillah, I feel that maybe, inshallah, he's in a good place that he can do something. But up until this point, he always sang on one of my own albums. And I try to protect him from that, because I really, again, you can get lost, especially if you're a younger person. I think it's easier because you can get swamped by everything around you. So it's difficult. It's positive, subhanallah. I think there's so much amazing experiences that you can have, and I mean this sincerely, because I think the person who, for me, with all the songs that I've done, the person that has benefited from those songs the most has been me, because it's allowed me to use my voice, it's allowed me to travel, it's allowed me, Allah has given me the opportunity to meet such amazing people, to be inspired, to continually write. So I'm grateful to Allah for all the amazing opportunities I've been given, which I have not earned in the least, but I can tell you that now, because we don't earn the talent Allah gives us. We just given it these gifts for free. Allah gives it to us, so it's how we use it, and we can't take, credit for it. It's really just really just a gift from Allah.
You mentioned your son Rashid there. I think that's a timely point for us to listen to his track Believe, which is a style all of its own. I've noticed he's clearly already a very accomplished artist when I heard this track. And I think his album is correct me if I'm wrong, brother, Degrees of Separation. That's the name of the album? Yes. That's correct. Yeah, so let's listen to this track and then we'll come straight back to you.
Run away from our fears, face the truth and lose these tears. Fade away to the night. Once a spark has lost its light. Where will I go? I don't know. As I open my eyes, I'm all alone. Fly away with the spirit ablaze, on the flames of faith to see them brighter days. Break away from these walls. In time I'll know the possibilities of letting go. See how far I'll fly, even though the night may be dark. Here comes the light. I believe in my tomorrow. I believe in me. I'll say goodbye to hurt and sorrow. There ain't nothing holding me. I believe in my tomorrow. I believe in me. I'll say goodbye to hurt and sorrow, 'cause I believe in me. Walk away from sorrowful sights. Find the strength to turn the dull back into bright. Ignite the flame in the sky. My prayers will be heard and hope will never die. Let the light guide me home, 'cause I believe in myself. I'll never go wrong. I believe in my tomorrow. I believe in me. I'll say goodbye to hurt and sorrow. There ain't nothing holding me. I believe in my tomorrow. I believe in me. I'll say goodbye to hurt and sorrow, 'cause I believe in me.
Everybody wanna make it, be a superstar, live life impressive. Tell me who you are. Does it count when they can't see it? Exist when they don't hear? How do you define yourself? Is it really you or fear? When is money a mask for the pain and the sadness? When is status a wall for a heart so damaged? What if class is a fallacy? What if tears are the truth and the gift is humanity and our flaws are the proof that Allah is the anchor? What did He give you? A miraculous spirit. Did He breathe it in you? If He sees it in you, then surely you can believe in you. Created, made unique. When the cell phones break, Facebook deletes. My soul always remained in me. Becomes gold when I choose to believe.
Sorrow, there ain't nothing holding me. I believe in my in my tomorrow. I believe in me. I believe in my tomorrow. So please believe in me.
Mashallah, that was Rashid Bika. This is Zain Bika's son with a track called Believe from his new album, his first album, debut album, Degrees of Separation. Mashallah, very unique style, different to yours. Is that something you fully encouraged, Brother Zain? Were you behind him all the way?
What's happened there?
We've lost Brother Zain.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can. That was my fault.
Yeah,
Forgive me.
I think definitely very different to my style. I think he wanted to explore, you know, I suppose a new sound. And subhanAllah, I did encourage him. I did, you know, assist him wherever I could and guide him along. He's also going to, you know, make the album available without the musical instruments, which I also encouraged him because I said,
okay,
you know, it's got to try to be accessible. I love the message of the song,
yes.
Believe. I think the biggest challenge that we as parents face for our youth today is just for them to be happy with who they are. You know, the question of identity, the question of self-belief, confidence. You know, it's a crazy world for young people today with so much, you know, social media, screen addiction that's happening. You know, life is so fast-paced for young kids today, for young people, for young children.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, every problem that young children have, whether it's substance abuse, whether it's, you know, depression, sometimes our high rate of young, you know, sort of suicide that's taking place amongst children these days, I think it all stems from belief in themselves. So I think that the song is very applicable in terms of just, you know, really trying to encourage young people to really strive to find within themselves that they should be happy with who they are, just the way Allah made them.
Yes, it would be great to have your son, Brother Rashid, on Salam Radio as well. It would be good to have an interview with him and find out his thoughts in similar vein to questions that we've asked you. That would be interesting.
Yeah, really good.
A different generational view and a different perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I quite enjoyed listening to him. There was an event in Leicester.
Yeah,
it was a charity event. Brother Zain, your son was there, and Dawood Wonsby.
Okay.
And from what I remember, I think you three did some collaboration together. If I vaguely remember.
Yes, we did an older song of ours called "You Can't Take It With You When You Go."
That's the one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was good.
Mashallah, that was great. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Brother Zain, let me ask you. You've got. I've been reliably informed, and I hope I'm reliably informed, that you've got a new album coming out later this year. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm working hard at it, and. Yeah, it's going to be a little different, I guess, because it's going to be mainly aimed at young children.
Oh,
I think that maybe with, you know, the main reason that I think myself and, you know, Dawood Wonsby, our songs have lived so long, I think they have had a longevity to it, is because, subhanAllah, you know, a lot of young parents or older parents, they appreciate that their kids listen to something that's good for them. So I have a very popular song called Allah Made Everything. It's a fun song, you know, about a fish and a bird. And with the popularity of that song, you know, I've been very inspired by my own young kids and my nieces and my nephews who listen to my songs. And so I've been writing a lot with that in mind. So inshallah, later this year, I really hope to have another album out with my friend Dawood Wonsby.
Mashallah.
And we hope to do, you know, a lot of, I guess, for young kids, but also for the young at heart, you know. I think it will be songs that everyone can enjoy, inshallah. I make dua that Allah gives me barakah, inshallah.
Inshallah. Is there any chance you can give us a sneak exclusive snippet of one of the tracks from your new album? A live performance, even if it's only 30 seconds?
Okay, well, I guess the most popular song that's in my head at the moment and with my own kids is a song called, it's a brand new song, it's called, I'm actually too afraid to say it because it's probably only going to come out in maybe 3 or 4 months' time, you know?
Okay.
Because these things do take time. But anyway, the song is called The Cotton Candy Sky. And it's really one of my favorite songs that I've written.
Mashallah.
It's a positive song for as I said, for young people, but also, the young at heart. It's really about that no matter what happens to us in life, we should always try to look at something positive and be positive about it. Because as you guys know, in the world today, there's so much to be depressed about. And there's so much to be worried about and sad about. Because whether it's poverty or war or injustices or oppression, there's just so many people suffering at, really terrible circumstances. But subhanAllah, we should still be positive and we should still do what we can in whatever way. So the song talks about that. And I can try to sing a little if you
Please do. We'd be honored.
Okay, so bear in mind it's a children's song. So it goes something like this. Bismillah. Allah has given me a cotton candy sky, a little bit of blue, pink, purple, and white. I sometimes see the gray and I sometimes feel the rain, but I'll see the colors of the cotton candy sky again. Allah has given me a cotton candy sky, a little bit of blue, pink, purple, and white. I sometimes see the gray, and I sometimes feel the rain, but I'll see the colors of the cotton candy sky again.
MashaAllah.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah.
See, that's what you call an artist. Exactly. He doesn't need no effects or production or reverb or anything like that.
I don't know about that.
MashaAllah, that was great. I mean, lyrically, beautiful for kids. Absolutely beautiful. And as always, brother, faultless performance with the voice.
MashaAllah. I don't know about that. But inshallah, it will be out later this year, and I'm really excited about it because, I think songs for as I said, for the young at heart, with positive messages, with really beautiful maybe videos which we want to do, will inspire many, and I'm really looking forward to launching this album later.
MashaAllah. Brother Zain, from Brother Faisal and myself and all our listeners, want to thank you so much for joining us today and giving us your time with your wonderful insights, and for us as fans to get to know you as an artist as well in some way. So MashaAllah, it's been a fantastic experience, and I hope our station manager can reach out and arrange something with your son. That would be amazing, inshallah.
No, inshallah, it will be a great honor for him to be on your show. And thank you very much. I think the questions you've raised and the comments you guys have made is really insightful. And I think it's good that we have these kind of discussions, because I think it's positive for everyone, and I think it allows us also to maybe realign our own intentions as well. So thank you so much. It was a really good interview, and inshallah, I hope to see you guys in the
inshallah.